Here we
Wow.
late because of me, and part of it is because we went to this meeting for our house, and yours truly does not know how to shut up. But everybody that is here watching this show right now knows that I don't know. Yeah, I'll eat that. I'm gonna eat a snack. Dirt cake, Lunchables.
Not sponsored.
Not
Look
sponsored.
at you go.
Not yet.
Look at you go, Jacob.
Let's get you retweeted and out there and everything.
I just did the same. Hello. We have
Hello,
one.
everybody.
We have one.
We got
Two.
one, we got two. We're counting up it. I just said, and I'll say it again. We are coming in a little bit late because of a meeting that I had, and that I ran a little bit late at that meeting. So we're coming in a little late tonight.
It's okay. We're still here.
So I'm going to make this a habit about naming the episodes. You did this to us last week. I'm going to do it to us this week. So welcome into the Jeff Garcia episode of Barking Brown Show. That is where we're at. Nick decided to name last week the Phil Dawson episode, which is appropriate. But this week we decided to go with the Jeff Garcia episode of
I love that.
Show. The ats are below for our Twitter. I'm your host, Jacob, joined as always over there. He is by the man that doesn't miss, Nick Carnes. Tonight we have a phenomenal show for you. We got a deep dive on Richard LeCounte. We're going to talk about the defensive line having a legitimate battle because of talent, not because of disparity of talent at a position. We have a legitimate battle at the defensive tackle position. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to talk about Nick Chubb because we love to talk about Nick Chubb. We're going to talk about Baker slander. We're going to talk about how I am incredibly excited because I have trolls now. I have trolls. I got hated on a little bit. I had a very good, productive conversation with the person that hated on me a little bit, and I respect and understood her points, told her I respected and understood her points, and I accepted the constructive criticism. And Nick's like, hey, as you grow a little bit, you're going to get this. And I said, listen, I'm excited because he did not like me today on the internet, and that was, hey, A-okay with me. So, Nick, I'm like poorly planned tonight. I'm kind of scrambling for it. So where do we want to start tonight?
That's a great question. We do. You know what? It's amazing because here we sit in June, and I feel like when you and I are talking, we're just like we have way too many things to talk about. So it's crazy. But something I did like, and I admittedly I didn't get to look into the responses as much as I would have liked to, but I love the way you put out a poll every week about the various topics, and I thought your poll was particularly interesting this week. So if you want to start there, that's something I'm definitely interested in.
Yeah, I love doing these polls for anybody that is new. I do a poll on Sundays. I used to do them on Mondays. I now do them on Sundays just because we do the show on Tuesdays. So I just wanted to give a little bit of time for that. I've done several different things about like who do you pay first? I try to keep it up with the biggest topics in Browns, in Browns land is in the biggest topic in Browns land currently is that they're good. Now we're going to talk about that too. I want to make a comment about the Marcus Spears thing. Not really Spears thing, but the other analyst on there.
The back and forth,
or the lack thereof, really. All right, so Myles Garrett will lead the team in sacks this year. Barring some sort of injury. This is where my poll began. And anybody joining in the comments if you want to weigh in on the poll if you didn't already. Myles Garrett will lead the team in sacks. He has a lot of talent on the line with him, but who will be second in sacks? Feel free to tell me how many they'll have in the comments, and let's discuss this. So I put Jadeveon Clowney, Takk McKinley, Curtis Weaver, and Malik Jackson. I thought they are probably the top 4 candidates to be number 2 on the team in sacks. So that's where I thought we were going to be. So Jadeveon Clowney, I think no surprise to anybody, won the poll with 50% of the poll. I really liked Takk McKinley's support because my answer is Takk McKinley, and we'll get into that a little bit after we get Nick's breakdown of this. Takk McKinley had 30% of the vote, Curtis Weaver 5%, and Malik Jackson had 8%. I really like the love that Malik Jackson got because I think we lost in the 27 other defensive tackles that we signed. Malik Jackson and the Clowney and the Takk McKinley signings and all those things. I think quite often Takk McKinley is kind of lost in the sauce, so to speak. So, or I'm sorry, I meant Malik Jackson is kind of lost in the sauce a lot because of these other guys, so I really like that he actually got third in this poll. So, Nick, your thoughts on this poll, your thoughts on some of the comments that the poll received, and of course anybody out there that wants to weigh in as well.
Okay, so I really like this poll because it shows first that the Browns have really went from a defensive line that was heavily reliant on Myles Garrett, and no disrespect to Olivier Vernon because he came on strongly last year, but for a long time, it felt like if Myles wasn't getting the sacks, who is? And so,
especially if Myles wasn't pushing the quarterback to someone else to make the sack, like he had a hand in it even when he didn't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm really excited that it feels like all the options you listed, Takk, Malik Jackson, and Jadeveon Clowney are all viable candidates to legitimately come in second on the team. And so that in itself is really exciting to me. So I did vote for I found myself on the popular opinion this time because I wasn't last time, which was interesting. And I do think that Jadeveon Clowney stands to be our second leading sacker, just purely based on the fact that most of his career, he's facing double teams, and now all of a sudden that is not a reality you can do when you're facing down Myles Garrett. And so I'm really excited because they say Jadeveon Clowney gets pressures. Well, if you're not going to double team him, I think those pressures turn into sacks. At least some of them.
Yeah, and I think and we'll get to, we got a couple comments over here we'll get to in just a second. And I think too what people don't kind of underutilize or undervalue with Jadeveon Clowney is his pressure. You talk about his pressures rate, but I'd also talk about the way he sets the edge, in which Jadeveon Clowney, because some people came at the popular poll and stuff a little bit with complaining that he just doesn't get sacks. I think that Jadeveon Clowney is undervalued in the fact that he sets the edge, and I think when he sets the edge, he's going to cause people to go back into the middle where those big defensive tackles are. I think he's going to cause people to – I think Jadeveon Clowney's impact is going to be more in the tackle for losses in the run game, and not just his, but others, because of things that he causes, than necessarily sacks. And that's why I think it's Takk McKinley, because I think Jadeveon Clowney, between his sacks and tackles for loss in the run game, is over double digits. I think those numbers combined, it's somewhere around 15 to 18. Is that 8 or 9 sacks and 10 tackle for loss in the run? Yeah, that is probably where I think you talked about him getting his first career double-digit sack season. I totally can see that happening. I'm not sure if he does. I think Takk McKinley gets 10 sacks. That's the hot take that came here for tonight.
Okay.
I think Jadeveon sits at about 8.5, and he gets about 10, 12 tackles for loss in the run game. And I think Takk McKinley is the forgotten man in this situation. Think about if you line Myles Garrett up on one side and you put Jadeveon Clowney in the defensive tackle position in the middle, which we have heard the Browns talk about utilizing Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney already. I know some people said, oh, that's not going to happen. I had some people tell me that, and I said, excuse me. I said they're already talking about it. They've already said they want to use these guys in this way. I think if you see Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett on one side, and of course Malik Jackson's right there as well, you're completely going to do something that I think is normal and not think about the other side. Attack McKinley's explosiveness, you need to make sure you're at least aware he's over there. Don't put a tight end on him. He is more athletic than a lot of these tight ends, these blocking tight ends. Put it on him. He's going to get 10 sacks for that reason. Now, this comment is right on. What if the number 2 sack leader is actually Myles, since he has double teamed most of the time and the others get their free shot? Ooh. I could see a situation. I could see a legitimate situation where it plays out where like Myles, Tack, and Jadeveon are all around like that 12 to 14. I mean, that's a lot of sacks. And I'm not saying that's where they go. That's a lot of sacks. And some of those potentially are coverage sacks. You finally have the secondary, the back 7 that can provide coverage sacks. Myles Garrett, all of his sacks last year were because he is
amazing
on the field, right? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's because he's amazing. He's Herculean on the field. Every single one on that line is going to get an opportunity to do something they haven't been able to do before, and that's get coverage sacks. And because of that, I think the Browns finish somewhere in the top 10, maybe top 5 in sacks this year.
I have a bit of a hot take here. Myles Garrett is 20 sacks off of the Browns' all-time lead behind Clay Matthews. And if you look at early in the Browns season, before Myles had the issues with COVID, before he had another issue, I think during the Raiders game that he was on the field and then he was off the field.
It was a shoulder.
Yeah. So he ran into some issues last year. But when you look early on, he at one point he was on pace for 20 sacks in the season. So now you've added an extra game to the season, and if everything goes according to plan, which I mean, it could go off the rails, but I'm staying firm in the belief that the Browns are going to make a playoff run. So you take 17 games plus a playoff run. I say by the end of the year, Myles Garrett is the Browns' all-time sack leader. All he needs is 20, and I think if he stays on the pace that he was early, if he has some health on his side and not COVID, Myles gets those 20 sacks, and he's the Brown as a 5th-year player, 5 years in the league. And I know when Clay Matthews was playing that sacks weren't a stat early on.
Not for the whole time, yeah.
Yeah, so I understand that. So that technically, Clay is still – because there's a lot of people that are old school Browns fans that are very – and deservedly so. Clay deserves all of it. Yeah. But from a pure recorded number standpoint, that is incredible to me. And I think Myles may not hit it this year, but to me, I say he hits it. And that's I can't even imagine a number 1 overall pick finally coming in and not only living up to what you hope a number 1 overall pick is, but just absolutely destroying any expectations that you could have had. I love him. And that news, I was hoping to talk to you a little bit because I know I saw you tweeted about it and I tweeted about it too. But Myles showing up first to OTAs today, you just love to see it.
Yeah, in OTAs, I had another conversation with more people on the internet today about helmet and shorts workouts and OTAs and things like that. And, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Somebody, I'm trying to remember who it was. They quote tweeted you and they used a simple term when they talked about Myles Garrett, and that was leader. Was that Living on the Land podcast? Was that?
I want to say that is correct.
I like to try to give people credit where it is. Miles is a leader. The defense. Here was the most important thing about the OTAs: the defense, the part of the people that need to mesh together are there.
Yeah.
Solidarity on the offensive side, but apparently the linemen are working out together 4 to 5 times a week. Baker has held passing camps. It's June 1st. Calm the hell down about OTAs. This is it. This is the last time I'm going to talk about OTAs. And if you come at me, especially in an aggressive way, and I'm looking right into the camera about OTAs, I'm just muting you, blocking you. I'm moving on. I'm being a little crybaby bitch about it, but I don't want to talk about OTAs anymore, period. I don't want to do it. People that really, really needed to be there are there. I know Baker in the offense, they weren't there. I know they have stuff going on. I know, they're working out together. They're holding passing camps. They're supposed to be there soon. It's going to happen. We don't care. We're not going to care about helmet and short workouts at the end of May, beginning of June when they win the North in December. I promise you, they're not going from what I think is a 12-5, 13-4 football team to a 5-12, 4-13 football team because of missing voluntary camps. I hate to take more time talking about voluntary camps, so we are done talking about voluntary camps. But Miles making sure to be clear and public and upfront about being the first one in there and that he would be there speaks to the character and position of the player, and I think it was very critical that he did what he did.
He's your highest paid player. He's arguably, and I saw Ken Carmen tweeted this question out today, so shout out to him. But he asked who is the Browns' best player, and he is arguably the Browns' best player, regardless of side. Now I did pick Nick Chubb because I love Nick Chubb. I'm a Nick Chubb stan. I'm biased. I admit that, but I think so. Miles is either your first or second best player, and he's your highest paid player.
Yeah, he's the most talented, I think, by far. I don't think it's close. So
for him to show up like that and set that tone, that's what I tweeted about today. I think that's great because now, Jacob, you say you don't want to talk about it, OTAs. I bring me the OTA talk. I'm ready for it because and so
you can have it all. You can have all of
it. But you know what? Just seeing pictures today. Right before we went live, I was seeing pictures of Grant Delpit and Greedy Williams back in uniform, and Anthony Walker's looking shredded. All these guys are back in camp, and it just, you know what? Browns football is coming. So give it to me. I want all of it. I'll take every bit of it you got, because here we are in June, and we're not that far away now, and that's really exciting to me. I'm incredibly excited to see what this defense, especially the defense, because the offense, all the coaches are returning, all the players are returning. Mm-hmm. We saw what the offense could be. We're expecting them to take another step forward. We know what the offense is, and we're just expecting it to build on what it was. But the defense, on the other hand, there's such an infusion of players that, and they have a lot of work to do, admittedly. So I'm really excited to see them there. That's what gets me excited. Just the idea of getting leads and keeping leads. I can't come off of it. I can't. I'm getting excited thinking about it.
And I'll say this about the OTA talk. I don't necessarily want to shit on anybody that's excited like you are to see Browns football, because I'm where you are. I want it, and I want it right now directly in my veins. What I mean is stop coming at me saying that the Browns aren't going to win a Super Bowl because they're not at OTAs.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about who is there. Let's talk about the fact that Grant Delpit and Greedy Williams were on a practice field today. Buddy, just seeing the images of them stretching, and Greedy posted a picture of him doing some kind of drills. I don't know necessarily what was happening there, but just seeing, I'm full for it. Let's see as many clips about it. Let's see as much about what's going on there. I just don't want to talk about what's not going on there. I don't want to talk about what's not there. because guess what? We can yell about it.
Yeah.
Gonna matter. Like, would you rather have him there? Of course I would rather have him there. I'm telling you, I don't see a situation where it really matters that the guys that aren't there. Let's talk about the fun stuff. Let's talk about the stuff that is going on. Let's talk about Grant Delpit and Greedy Williams. I mean, being able to see them on a practice field, not knowing if we'd ever see Greedy Williams back on a practice field. I understand he doesn't have pads on. He isn't hitting yet.
Yeah.
Shoulder will hold up the first time he takes a hit. But you know, it's awesome. He's out there. He's finally in a position to, you know, hopefully step back onto the field. And we don't know what we have with him yet. We just really don't have enough of him. And we really want, you know, to get there. Let's inject all of the good of OTA right into my veins and miss me with the complete people that aren't there. They're voluntary workouts. And Nick, if you were on vacation for the next 2 months for work, and I said, "Hey, Nick, okay,
No, I'm here."
You froze for a second. I didn't know if it was me. I said, "Hey, Nick, you're on vacation for the next 4 months," and I know you've been working like hella hard, so that's like probably incredibly. Sorry for this hypothetical. That's like teasing you. It's just rude. I'm sorry. And I said, "Hey, we got these meetings, these voluntary meetings next about 2 weeks before your vacation ends. I'll give you a little bit of extra, like maybe I'll give you a workout bonus if you show up, because I know some have them and some don't, and the ones that have them are there. Would you show up?"
I'm taking my break.
Yeah.
I'm taking my break.
I mean, once they start, it is like it's football. It's 24/7. You know, you hear about guys like Tom Brady and these workaholics that are in the building at 5 a.m. and they leave at 8 p.m. It's like that for what the season, camp starts in July, and it's until, especially if you make a deep playoff run. I mean, no matter what, playoffs or not, you go until the new year. You go until now, especially with week 17, it goes into January.
Yeah.
I get it. That's because the people are like, well, if I have to go to work, you have to go to work. Yeah, but if you were in the same exact type of job and you were offered that time off,
we're
taking that time off. I wanted to take a quick minute to thank everybody. I didn't do this off the top of the head. This is episode 5 of the Bark and Brown Show. We have done 4. Off the top, I today took screenshots of all 4 of our episodes for purposes of views. And on Twitter, the first 4 episodes of the Barking Brown Show have amassed 8,652 views. And it could have happened, because I know last week's episode is still pinned to your profile. So, you know, obviously, more potentially could have happened since then. That is just insane to me. That is, I'm overjoyed. I know Nick echoes in it. My dog is tearing up my bed behind me. He's just going absolutely nuts, burying a bone in imaginary dirt. And you can kind of see. You can kind of see him. He's over there. He's just
love it.
He's just
love it.
He's now he left. He got camera shy and he took off. So 8,600 views. Thank you. If you want to support us, if you like us, if you like what we're doing, we love feedback of any kind. Tell your friend, retweet it, comment, subscribe. We're beyond blessed. We could we're not even into the good stuff yet, people.
I know we're not.
We don't have games. We don't have training camp. We don't have season. We're not there yet. We're not to the good stuff. We've got tons of great ideas and guests and things that we've got lined up that are coming from you. But I wanted to take the time to thank you guys and tell you I appreciate it for all that.
No, I do as well. So you know what? We've had such great feedback and such great comments, and both. And I think I speak for Jacob and I when I say that we both really value the interaction of just our fellow fans. We really love that, and so I tweeted out one day just asking, like, what's on your mind? What questions do you have? What would you like us to discuss? And I got a little bit of feedback on that. But I'm hoping to build that more. I'm hoping that at some point we could have just a segment where say, okay, what's on your mind? What do you know what? Because I feel like there's a lot of pieces of Browns Twitter, and there's just not nearly enough time to cover everything. And so I would love to dig into something that, because there are so many good ideas from all of us in our community, and that don't get enough time. So I would love to dig into ideas people have, and just talk about them, because Jacob and I have like a loose idea of what we're going to talk about, but here we are. We've been live for like almost 20 minutes now, and we're just it's like you go off on a defensive tangent, and I want to talk about Greedy Williams over here.
Yeah.
But
let's talk about Greedy Williams.
I would love to. But thank you to everyone. I still have like imposter syndrome. I can't believe that, it's like we have a show. Here we are. Yeah. And Jacob, you're great. Oh, but shout out, by the way, Jacob deserves your follow and time. I'm just saying, he's great. I'm just saying.
Sometimes I put out cheap Nick Karn knockoff tweets, and I get shit on the internet.
No knockoffs here.
I don't know. I'm not complaining about what went down today. Everybody has like been very, very gracious to me, and I'm just excited. Where was I going to?
I was hoping before we could. I just want to say I was thinking about this today when I saw Greedy Williams next to Grant Delpit at OTAs. I was just thinking about, it is amazing how in the span of 1 year we went from Greedy being our second corner next to Denzel Ward, and really just like when he gets hurt, that's devastating. That's a devastating loss last year. To now, here we sit, and all of a sudden you've just drafted Greg Newsome in the first round. You have high hopes for him. Troy Hill fits perfectly into what they want to do, and you still have Denzel Ward. And so now Greedy Williams is your fourth corner.
Yeah,
I think that's an amazing position to be in.
Greedy Williams, and Jeff Lloyd's probably said it a million different times on the Locked On Browns podcast, and I think he just kind of, and I'm sure others said it too, but I think he kind of encapsulates it perfectly when he says Greedy Williams is a scratch-off ticket. Greedy Williams is a guy that you might scratch it off, and he may never play again. It's a nerve issue. We got to be the fans that are like, that advocated for different positions over a corner in the first round, saying that Greedy Williams was there. It's not fair to Greedy Williams because it is a nerve issue, and we just have absolutely no idea. And they know better than we do, and I still don't think doctors really have a good idea because it is a nerve issue.
Yeah.
But Greedy Williams, he's a situation where if he comes back and he balls, you got a rookie in Greg Newsome who becomes a depth piece. Or a guy like Greedy who has some experience becomes a Terrence Mitchell, where you get a situation where Denzel has not played 16 games. So if Greedy Williams comes back and he's fine, and Denzel misses 2 games, well, it's Greg Newsome and Greedy Williams. I think Greg Newsome is going to be fantastic, but having kind of a more known commodity in Greedy Williams. Rookie corners, especially, well, it's more so rookie slot corners that is a really difficult position to play for rookies as a slot. But rookie corners have an adjustment period. I would say on the defense, in terms of what you need to know how to do, I would say the corner is the most complicated position. And now you're going around, everybody runs, everybody's number one 4-4. Not just one guy in your division, right? There's almost every team's got a guy that runs at least a 4-4. That's what I think. I think in most situations there's at least one that can do it on each team for the most part. Yeah. You're going to have to cover guys that are super fast. You're going to have to cover this stuff at boom, 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 bang, bang, bang pace. You would love to ease Greg Newsome into his role because a guy like Greedy Williams can play 25% of the snaps so that Greg's only playing 75. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
interject. I just wanted to say, you look around our division now, and we already knew the Steelers wide receivers are all three of them are great and can threat. I mean, I have to give them that credit, especially Chase Claypool, probably a budding star in the NFL. And then you look over at Cincinnati, right? They just drafted T. Higgins, who looks really good last year. I'm a big fantasy player, so so you still have Tyler Boyd, who is also damn good, and then they just drafted Jamar Chase.
Yeah, Jamar Chase in Cincinnati.
Jamar Chase, who I mean,
don't forget our boy Rashad Bateman somehow made it to fucking Baltimore. And Tylan Wallace. They drafted Tylan Wallace too.
So you look around, and I'll tell you what, I think Marquise. So now Lamar is inaccurate, and I'll fight anybody on that. But there's video of Marquise Brown being wide open, and Lamar just can't hit him. So that's he and of course the tight end in Baltimore. Mark Andrews. The names just aren't coming to me tonight. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
But no matter what team the Browns are playing, you're looking at twice a year for every one of these teams that have terrifying receiving threats all over the field. And so it's no coincidence that the Browns you go out and get Troy Hill, you draft Greg Newsome in the first round, and so now people that were like, well, we have Greedy Williams, we don't need to draft a corner. I'm very thankful that suddenly we have this depth, and not only there, but at safety, which actually kind of segues pretty nice into what we want to talk about tonight in Richard LeCounte.
I see what you did there.
You know what? I didn't mean to, but it kind of just happened, and here we are.
Also, big fan of the fact that Trey Boston is a free agent. I have no issues with Trey Boston making his way to Cleveland. Ed wants to know. Ed's asking the hard-hitting questions tonight.
I love it. Love it, Ed.
Which one of the corners will have the most sacks? I love when quarterback splits off the edge untouched. You know what? Never thought about that question. I'm glad you asked me that question. And I'm going to go with who I think is the most athletic of the corners, and that is Denzel Ward. We saw Andy Lytle was on the show last week. By the way, if you have not seen the show with Andy Lytle last week, absolutely go see it. He is phenomenal. You need to check him out, Not the Same Old Browns podcast. If you like horror movies, the Dead in Santa Clara podcast is phenomenal as well. He said it last week. Taki's pick 6 against Carson Wentz was the easiest of his career, and it was because Denzel Ward came on a delayed blitz, which was not called. Just nobody came into Denzel's zone. They were playing zone coverage, and nobody came over into his area, and so he blitzed, and he smacks him. I think Denzel gets home for a couple this year.
I would like to find a different answer, but I think about the kicks that Denzel blocked on special teams that he hasn't done it. I don't think he blocked any kicks last year, but previous to that, Denzel had at least a couple of blocked field goal attempts. Yeah. And so he's showing you that speed, and that's, I think, of all of them, that makes the most sense. So I'm definitely going to say Denzel Ward as well. Just purely based on. Sorry, what's that?
I had to get my Richard LeCounte scouting report up.
Oh, okay. But yeah, Ed, shout out to Ed, by the way. Can't wait to have you as a future guest here we're working on.
Over there. For people that, and I realize I do this all the time, and I haven't always addressed it. So Nick, looking at my screen, is me here, and Nick is over that way. But it's inverted. So when I I'm pointing to my left. Like I try to point it where Nick is, and my finger's actually pointing at Nick right now. So like, I'm just not great with like technology, dude. Like, I don't know what's going on. I did. I was late to the game. I didn't get all of my captions made, but I did do this. Pow, Richard LeCounte.
Love it.
Okay, I'm going to preface this by saying that of the Browns draft picks, and I will include Marvin Wilson. For those of you new to the show, we are doing deep dives on all of the Browns draft picks. I'm dissecting some film. What makes me qualified to do this? Absolutely nothing. So we are doing deep dives. We include Marvin Wilson because I'm really high on Marvin Wilson. We did Tony Fields first, Marvin Wilson, and then last week we did Demetric Felton. So we're on our fourth one. Go back in the episodes. Episode 2 had Tony Fields. Episode 3, Marvin Wilson. Episode 4 had Demetric Felton. Of the Browns draft picks, and I will include Marvin Wilson, Richard LeCounte has, to me, the hardest path to the roster. Which you think that the 6th round guy, Demetric Felton, would, but I think Demetric Felton brings a special he brings return ability. Now, Richard LeCounte, much like what I said with Tony Fields, could make the roster based off of he could play special teams. Richard LeCounte has the ability to pay it, so I could see that. But of those guys, I think he's fighting with Sheldrick Redwine.
I would agree.
A scenario where Redwine and LeCounte make the roster. I'm not crazy about Redwine. He shows you some flashes, but LeCounte, I think Redwine's more athletic, but I think Richard LeCounte was a little bit more productive overall in his career. So Richard LeCounte, he's a little bit slow to react in the run game. I don't overtly need a safety that flies up. John Johnson is that guy. Ronnie Harrison is that guy that play the run and they fly all over the field. So he's not going to react. I think he's kind of slow to react in the run game, but I think he may be in a good position where that can be masked by teammates around him. I don't think he's a very good tackler. That's a knock that I have on him. He goes very high. He looks for the big hit or the kill shot on every play, it seems like. Especially if you go to not just watch Richard LeCounte tape, but you go to watch Richard LeCounte highlights, that's what you're going to see. And listen, he can lay the boom. But that was in the ACC and that was in college. Or I'm sorry, the SEC. He played for Georgia. But that was in the SEC in college. All of these receivers and running backs are grown men in the NFL. I don't see a lot of fundamentals when it comes to tackling from Richard LeCounte. This is the one, like, when I kind of watched film so far, this was the one that I kind of was not crazy about this selection, but Andrew Berry has forgot more about football than I will ever know, so that is what it is. Now some good stuff. He has good range. I think he has very good range at the back end. He plays the ball really well in the air. He's very productive. In his last 2 years at Georgia, he had 7 interceptions, including 3 this past year, and he only played 5 games this year. He had three interceptions, right? He's a very productive player. He is best as a single high center fielder. His range, sideline to sideline, and his ability to react to a quarterback's eyes and body language are easily his best traits. If he is a single high, if you have John Johnson and Ronnie, if he is the third safety on the field, you can get by with him if he's single high. So if Ronnie Harrison's in the box, John Johnson's maybe in the slot. You got JOK out there, something like that. He can do it. I'm not sure I think this is where we are, right? We're finally in a position where the bottom of the roster was the problem last year. And now day 3 picks are truly prospects that are just trying to bring the basement of the roster higher. We're just trying to get the worst players on our team to not be the worst players in the league, sort of type of thing. Maybe we get some guys that are 4th or 5th in their position that could be 2nd on another team. That's kind of where we're coming as an organization. It's wild to say, considering 5 years ago we were 0-16. So, 4 years ago. I'm not sure he makes this roster. I'm not sure he's better than Sheldrick Redwine. I'm also not really sure Sheldrick Redwine's very good. So is he better than Sheldrick Redwine? Potentially. But the only way he makes the roster is if he beats out Sheldrick Redwine. I'm so sorry. I would missed some comments. I had it over there. Ed says he is very excited.
I am too.
He takes his shoes off in the house.
What a guy.
That is it. That's stand-up behavior right there. Redwine, you make me feel so fine. He keeps He says it's like Sesame Street. The Count lets LeCounte interceptions. Ooh.
I like that.
All right, Ed. That is his thing. His ball skills and his ability to be Johnny on the spot with in the air, especially if they're tips.
Yeah.
It's his. If he ever has an elite trait, that's what it is.
And you know what? There's a little bit of a theme here that I found, because the reason that Richard LeCounte only played 5 games is because he got into an accident.
In October.
He was driving a motorcycle without a headlight on, and the car didn't see him, and he got hit. So I don't know how bad it was, but what I did see is that when he at his pro day, he tested very poorly athletically.
Yes.
Which they interviewed him after, and he said that his foot had just recently finished healing, because I guess he had a fracture in his foot, which gives me shades of Marvin Wilson, and the fact that he also had an injury and tested very poorly athletically.
Demetric Felton as well.
Again, and so you're looking at 3 guys that have you look at them on tape, and you see someone that plays far faster and far more explosively than what their just raw numbers that they tested at would indicate. And I think that's important. I'm not saying that, he's going to be some amazing player or anything like that, but I think there's more potential there than what, if you just looked at his numbers or his test results on paper, would indicate. And so I am confident. That gives me some confidence that LeCounte could be a contributor.
And I'll say this about LeCounte as well as Demetric Felton and Marvin Wilson with poor testing that doesn't match tape. These are players that were productive college players, like both of them, and Tony Fields as well. Productive college players that Andrew Berry says, okay, maybe the testing doesn't make sense, but in terms of football players, these guys got it done. I said it, 7 interceptions in his last 2 years at Georgia. He only played 5 games last year, and he had 3. He had 4 his junior year. Dan in Florida says that I don't know of anything that Redwine does well, to be honest. And I'm going to tell you, and I don't know if it's skill, but Redwine does seem to be in the right spot for interception. Like, he had a couple of interceptions last year, one in which in the playoff game, which, Ben Roethlisberger was just kind of gifting people those. I've been told that Ben says that he reads all of this stuff about people being down on him, and he's aware of it, and he knows, and he's going to take it to heart. And I'm like, that's great, but you're bad.
Shout out to Dan, by the way. Thank you for being here, my friend. Everybody that comments, thank you. It makes the show so much fun when we get to talk to everybody. I didn't mean to cut you off, Jacob.
No, it's fine. AB digs deep. He really does. He goes through everything. He's got his parameters. They kind of took off the age guardrails and got some people that were a little bit older on day 3, but they were still productive, incredibly productive people, or people that tested really well. But tape don't lie, right? Yeah. I don't know why the athletic testing for Demetric Felton didn't really. I misspoke. He didn't really have an injury. He just had poor testing. I'm not 100% sure what happened there. We don't know necessarily, but tape says that Demetric Felton and Richard LeCounte are better football players than what the testing says. So there's reason why AB would have that sort of faith in them.
That says so much to me too, by the way, that Andrew Berry isn't just relying on raw numbers. You're looking at the tape, you're seeing what a player is giving you, both from a statistics standpoint and from just what did they do on the field, how are they contributing. And I think that's really important, because the numbers tell part of a story, but they don't tell the whole story. And for Andrew Berry to maybe this is another case where, Andrew Berry snags Donovan Peoples-Jones and not a whole lot of people are, enthused with him at the time. And then look what he does. A lot of people have high hopes for DPJ now. So I'm just saying.
I'm not laughing at that.
No, I know.
Ed came in with it. Time is up.
Oh, absolutely.
You're 100% spot on. I said this last week. Andy Lytle jumped in with it. DPJ was put in the perfect position for a 6th round rookie. Like, you got to bring him on. Like, these 6th round picks, we're not used to this as Browns fans. 6th round picks are 6th round picks for a reason. We don't want them out there tomorrow.
Yeah. No.
And honestly, if they could have, I bet you they would tell you that DPJ, the plan was for him not to see the field other than maybe special teams this year. Or
I would agree.
Past year. This past his rookie year. And I'm not saying that it isn't, but you brought him along when DPJ needed to step up. He was capable of stepping up. He stepped up in that big moment, I'm with you here. MC says that he believes Felton will have a few big plays that contribute to a W. I talked about it last week when I did the breakdown of Demetric Felton, and that is he is an explosive play waiting to happen. Excuse me. He is an explosive play waiting to happen, and you just have to. It's like Schwartz. And Schwartz has got more speed than Demetric does, but get them touches. But what you're going to be able to do with all the talent you have is, if Schwartz is comfortable with 10 snaps, he plays 10 snaps. If Demetric Felton is comfortable with 5 snaps, he plays 5 snaps. Not, hey, I know that you're somewhere along your development where you're good with 10 to 15 snaps, but we need you to play 47. So Marcus Spears, we have rambled, and I don't even know if this show was about what we told you the show was going to be about at this point.
That's the fun of the show. The comments help us, the fans help us, we help us.
It's June 1st, and we're just here to have a good time on a Tuesday night.
Yes, we are.
Marcus Spears, and this is I have a little bit of an issue, not with what Marcus Spears said, but with the reaction of the woman. Show me the loose leaf. Like, I thought it was very rude, the way she acted. Marcus Spears said the Browns have the best roster on paper, and he very vehemently and very definitively, articulated that it is on paper. And I have said that. I've said this on this show. I said it on Twitter. I said, on paper, they're the most improved squad. On paper, they may be the most talented squad, top to bottom, at least in the AFC, if not in the whole NFL. And a lot of people I see on Twitter that are like me say, hey, we need to wait until it translates to the field before it's between the white lines, before we can make that kind of judgment call. 150% am with you on that. I think the defense takes probably 4 or 5 games to mesh. I think they have the advantage that the offense didn't have last year with a training camp and a preseason, albeit shortened preseason at 3 games. On paper, defensive tackle, to me, and they've got a ton of people that could step up, defensive tackle is the only weak spot. I know that people have issues with their linebackers, but with what they ask their linebackers to do, they're fine. Anthony Walker is fine. Jacob Phillips could be the wild card of them all. JOK is going to play some of that coverage linebacker. It's one of those things that I look and she's like, show me the loose leaf, show me where it's at. And she's rolling her eyes, she's doing all that stuff. And Marcus Spears tells not one lie. Odell Beckham Jr., the best backfield. Everybody will tell you the best backfield in the league. Most people are going to tell you, and Brian Baldinger doubled down on NFL Network this week and said that the offensive line is the gold standard. Yeah. This team on paper is phenomenal. Absolutely, without question, phenomenal. It needs to translate. I don't know how it translates. We will find out in the fall, but I know the Browns is the Browns. Ask the last person how that played out when he said that statement.
Yes. That picture of Juju sitting on the bench just like is one of my favorites of all time.
Did I get the face right?
Yeah. I want to frame it on my wall one day. But there's a couple pieces to this because I actually before it became a clip on Twitter, I like to watch NFL Live. That's like part of just as the NFL season ramps up, it's really interesting to me. And so I watched this whole thing, not just the clip,
not just the 2 minutes.
Yeah, and so the one as they got into this discussion. One of her, I wish I could tell you her name, and I'm sorry I can't. One of her first points that, as they were discussing the rosters, is that she said the Chiefs actually have the best offensive line in the NFL. Dude, and I stared at that for a second because nobody gave her like a weird look or any kind of reaction, and I was like, okay, so I acknowledge that they added a bunch of talent. But if you how are you going to say that the Chiefs offensive line, who has not played a single down together, is better?
3-4 new starters?
I think
at least 3.
Yeah. Orlando Brown, Thuney, and
Kyle Long, who came out of retirement.
Yeah. So
who I love, by the way, but he hasn't played in years.
Yeah. And so her first point was that Patrick Mahomes is better than Baker Mayfield. I'm not here to argue that. But if you're going to tell me that the Browns offensive line that has an entire season of proof that they are elite is not as good as a line that hasn't even played a down together, where you're just pulling that out of a hat. You're just pulling it out of a hat. You're throwing it at the wall and you're hoping it sticks. That's what you're doing. And so those were her two legitimate points. And then after it goes back to Marcus, and Marcus pulls up Odell Beckham's healthy. Jarvis Landry is there. The Browns have the best running back duo in the NFL. Our tight end trio was super competitive. And then the offensive line. And to which then she responds by
Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett
is better than any defender that they have.
He said outside of Patrick Mahomes, Myles Garrett is probably better than everyone on the Chiefs roster.
Travis Kelce has the lone other caveat. Who, by the way, now Travis Kelce just had a record-setting season, and I'm not saying that I'm not trying to slander the guy in the least, but he is over 30 now. I'm just saying he's getting a little older. So when you look at Myles Garrett's in his prime, Travis Kelce's getting a little older. At some point, age takes its toll. I'm not here to say that. Travis Kelce is amazing and elite, but
Cleveland guy.
Jadeveon Clowney's probably better than any of their edge rushers.
Chris Jones is phenomenal.
I said the caveat of because Chris Jones is a defensive tackle. Yes.
Yeah, primarily. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, Chris Jones is amazing too. I don't want to, but see here, you and I are going back and forth about who do the Chiefs have, who do the Browns have, how can they stack up to one another, and ESPN gives us this show me the loose leaf eye roll garbage.
If that is your argument, because you can't even figure out who plays for the Browns. Let's get caught up over here in the comments because people are weighing in on this and other things. Ed just letting us know that we give fans like listen, this is a show for fans by fans, and we want fans show. That is our plan for the future. Fans will be on this more because that's what we are. We're not going to pretend to be analysts or anything like that.
Nope.
Dan, I'm going to get to your defensive tackle question in just a second. I want to catch up on these other things real quick because I think it's a phenomenal question. Facial recognition detected. I did the Juju face perfect. She huff and puffed when she mentioned exactly right. If you huff and puff at over saying the name Myles Garrett, you should not be on TV. I don't care about your opinion. The Browns that's where I want it. I said this, MC, when the schedule released. Nick knows about this. When the schedule released, and all these Chiefs fans, man, the Browns are so excited to start 0-1 by 21 points. I said,
by the way,
go ahead.
Myles Garrett is number 2 overall in sacks per game at this point. Number 2 overall on the NFL's all-time list. Myles Garrett is number 2.
On average. He needs like 20, and he would break it if he did it in 17 games. That's what I read, something like that.
I'm just talking about the CBS put out a list of all-time of all defenders sacks per game.
Yeah. And Myles actually quote tweeted that and said, "Can someone do the math for me about how many I would need to become number 1?" And somebody said, like, if he played all 17 games and got 20 sacks, the average for his career would make him all-time number 1 in
wow. Sorry, that's over my head.
He quote tweeted it and everything. It was pretty cool. Dan says she came off as an idiot. My wife said so too. I agree. I only saw the first couple. Now, Dan, to your question here, can we keep 5 defensive tackles? I have done, and we'll do it as we get closer to the season about who makes the 53-man, where are the cuts. I have gone over this multiple times, and several people have had conversations with me on Twitter about this where we've gone back and forth about defensive tackles. I have a hard time based on who is in that room keeping less than 5 defensive tackles because I think you start the list at Billings is interesting because he opted out, but I think there's 2 that are shoe-ins to me, and that's Billings and Malik Jackson. So you start there. Those 2 are on the roster. There's no way they want to give up on Jordan Elliott right now.
No.
I know some people like him. Some people aren't crazy about what he showed. He was an analytical darling in college, and Pete Smith will tell you that he believes that defensive tackle is one of the hardest positions for a rookie to play. So let's give him a little. And Pete's been doing this for a long time. He knows a little bit about something about football. I know a lot of you guys with his Jarvis hate don't like him, but he knows football. So there's 3. And between Togiai, Marvin Wilson, Malik McDowell, and Damon Square, who I can't forget is there. There's 4 guys, and I have a hard time saying that I only keep one of those 4.
Shout out to
that puts us at 5.
Shout out to Sam Penix, who does great work on Brown's Twitter, especially with his video clip breakdowns that he goes through.
I love them.
Right before the show went live, Sam tweeted out a video clip thread of Malik McDowell in college. That man is a monster.
Did you see him building the Browns? Just like,
yeah.
Listen, when we talk about the scope of it, the ethical questions about Malik McDowell and all this stuff, I didn't really agree. I didn't know why. It was the most un-Andrew Berry move that I've ever that we've seen. But he deserves a mulligan here and there. I didn't necessarily agree with the signing, but man, he could make me look like a freaking idiot when I saw that guy fucking walking on there on building the Browns.
Dude, once the Browns decide to commit to somebody, I'm biased
to come around.
Because they haven't been wrong. Like there were a lot of questions when the Browns brought in Kareem Hunt. There were a lot of questions when the Browns extended Kareem Hunt, and they've remained committed to him. And as far as we know, everything's gone well. So who am I to question their judgment at this point?
There was that DUI, but
that's true. That's true. You're right. I did forget about that. Yeah. But I'm just saying, based on the Browns' track record so far and who they've chosen and who they have kept on the roster, I have no reason at this point to think that anything. I have no reason to do anything but trust them. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Ed asks, are these the 6 receivers in Cleveland? The only one that has any jeopardy is Hodge, but because of what because I'm trying to think where Demetric Felton falls into, and we talked about it. Demetric Felton either beats out D'Ernest Johnson or Kadero Hodge because he also plays receiver.
Yeah.
But Hodge is everything Hodge catches is for a first down, and Hodge is phenomenal in special teams. So, yes, I think OBJ, Jarvis, DPJ, Hodge, Higgins, and Schwartz all make the roster. Those are your 6 receivers. I got one more thing that I promised. This is a good point. There have been no suspensions under this regime. That is
great point. Thank you,
MC.
Great point.
Appreciate that because that is a phenomenal point that proves kind of our point. So, I promised DW something. So I'm putting my hat on backwards because I'm going to say something that would piss off Colin Cowherd. And I'm going to tell you, I got an Odell Beckham Jr. hot take.
Ooh.
I promised I would do this. I told you guys, bookmark it. Freezing cold takes me. You won't be able to because it's going to happen. I look like such a douche with this hat on backwards. Nick can't even react to it. He's like, "Yeah, no, you do.
Hey, no, I'm all for it. I'm ready. I'm too excited to take anything else in right now.
This season, the receiver that leads the league in receiving, his name is Odell Beckham Jr. Bookmark it.
Wow. Okay. There it is. Nice kiss.
Hit me right almost in the crotch, too. That was great.
Can you imagine can you imagine for a second if Odell leads the league in receiving, what will happen?
But Baker is not good enough. He can't get the fit down the field. That OBJ is bad for the offense. He's toxic. He's not a good teammate. All of these, like I could go on and on and on about the takes and the people that would just infuriate. And I would just be there the whole time.
Yeah.
Just
yes. You know what? I still think back to, and shout out to AJ. Hello, AJ. We all met up for the Browns Steelers game when the Browns were 5-1, 4-1. I don't remember their record. It was like week 6.
4-1. Yeah.
4-1. The excitement's high. Everything is great. The Browns are riding high. And then that disaster occurs. And, the wind's completely taken out of our sails. Everything is terrible.
I talked so much shit going into that game.
I did too.
So much shit.
I did too. It was awful. But the point I'm trying to make is the next day, and known Steelers fan Stephen A. Smith gets on First Take and is like, "Free Odell Beckham from Cleveland. Baker's not good enough. They can't get that man the ball. He deserves better." And if we could just bring that clip up after Odell dominates, it would just be such sweet, delicious justice.
We have some phenomenal video editors on Brown's Twitter. I have absolutely no doubt that will happen. Ed wants to know yards, receptions, or both. I say yards because I think he's going to have one of the highest yards per catch in the NFL. I don't think he leads the league in receptions. I think the way, that Josh Allen is dependent on Stephon Diggs, and it works, so I'm not complaining about that. But he So I think Stephon Diggs will lead the league in receptions. Okay, hold on. Here we go. All right. OBJ is ready. He is ready. He looks as good as I think. And that was the tweet I made out today that got me made fun of on the internet. Here is AJ coming in. He's not the most yards in the league, but book him for comeback player of the year, 97 catches, 1,309 yards, 11 touchdowns. I was going to also say at least 10 touchdowns. So I'm with you on touchdowns. I wanted to say lead the league. And it is, we're out here, AJ. We are dishing out hot takes. I asked you to dish out your hot take on this. You just dished out your hot take. I'm going to, you know what? Watch this. I'm going to take a picture of AJ's hot take, and I'm holding it.
Yeah. You definitely. Okay, so shout out to AJ, longtime friend of mine, about 15-ish years now, basically. Well, I'm 30 for reference, so about half my life I've known AJ, and he is really good at this stuff. I've retweeted it a couple times, but last year he picked, before the playoffs started, he picked the entire playoffs, the winners, losers, and all of it, and of all the games in the playoffs, he picked one wrong. And of course, being a Browns fan, he picked the Browns wrong. AJ, how could you do this? But he's really good at these predictions, and it's amazing. I retweeted it a while ago, and I'll probably go back and do it again, because if you look back, I don't know anybody who can get that many games right. And so when he says, that Odell is going to have this comeback player of the year season, I take that really seriously. And I think so too. I honestly do. Dude, yeah, how could you? But if you ride that horse, you make a lot of money.
It's hot take season out here. Yeah. Odell leads the league in receiving, Chubb leads the league in rushing, Baker's the MVP. Fuck it. Book them all. Take them to the bank right now. Let's do it. We're passing out hot takes left and right like we're Oprah on some of her specials. I don't know.
I really think, and I look at numbers a lot. And Nick Chubb, so counting the touchdown he gives up versus Houston, because he deserves that touchdown, and I think it just is happenstance that he didn't get it. So in 12 games of the regular season, he scores 13 touchdowns. And then he didn't even play. So even though on paper it says he played 12 games, he played the first series against Pittsburgh in Week 17, in which he ran for the longest touchdown since Jim Brown against the Steelers, and that was it. So really, the guy played, and he gets hurt in the first half against the Cowboys. So really, when you look at it, he scored 13 touchdowns in about 10-ish games. I'm not sure Nick Chubb is going to lead the league in rushing, just because of the split with he and Kareem Hunt, but he is a touchdown machine. And my hot Nick Chubb take is that he leads the league in touchdowns for running backs. Of all the running backs, Nick Chubb leads the league in touchdowns because he was already fourth. Fourth. I don't know why I have one, but he was already fourth. So I'm saying here today that Nick Chubb is, of all running backs, leading the league in touchdowns.
Guys, that's all the time we got. That's all the time we got. I haven't eaten like all day. I smell food in the other room.
Oh, there you go.
I was eating this dirt cake. You guys saw me eating gummy worms and shit, and I was like hoovering it.
Yeah. So thank you to everyone that has been with us real late here. For those not watching live, it's 10:30 now. Normally we're a little earlier, and we plan to be, but life happens, right? We're making this happen as we go. We're adaptable. So thank you to everyone for all your support. This episode went way different than we thought it was, and that's great because we love all of you.
I don't even know what to write in the description. We talked about football.
So please, if you have stuff you want us to talk about, I'm gonna tweet out about it on Twitter. So if anyone wants any future topics, please, you can leave us comments on the YouTube video. That would be great. We would love to really start talking to people on our YouTube comments. That would be fantastic.
We will be back next Tuesday at regular time, 8 p.m. I promise.
We will. So this has been, as Jacob so rightly dubbed, the Jeff Garcia episode 5 of the Barking Brown Show. So as always, I'm Nick. He's Jacob. Wow, I did that right. And go Browns.